Been in business for like how many years, Tom?
17 years.
17 years,
The real
but with the XP.
No, not with EXP. No.
Okay.
4 years.
4 years with
A
the
little bit over
XP.
4
So
years. Yeah.
he has about 1,000 agents right now, or more than 1,000 agents. So he is doing a lot. He's a superstar in EXP actually.
Give Rodrigo a round of applause. You know, Tony, where are you? Tony, Garrick, Rodrigo, these guys are all rock stars. So thank you for having me here today, right? I always learn from you and you, Garrick, and you too, Rodrigo. You can turn that off. So I guess I get to close out. I stand between you and more drinks tonight. All right, but I'm gonna do my darnest to really make your time worthwhile to come out here tonight. I had a whole speech, but I'm not gonna give it. I'm gonna tell you a little bit of my story, then I think what I like to do is open it up because it was such a small group here, to really open up and have a brainstorming session. I do this with our team, I do this with our organization, and we just bring the best of the best, the brightest minds together sometimes, and it's an open book, all right, about how do we make our first million in real estate. So that's a little bit of my story, and maybe some inspiration. So, you know, in my teens, my job was to learn everything, learn as much as I want to learn. If you have kids in their teens, our job as parents is to make sure we tell our teenagers to learn as much as you can, right? To listen as much as you can. So that's what I did in my teens. In my 20s, I got into the job force, worked for insurance brokerage. And in my 20s, my job, my Vietnamese mom says, show up early, stay late, make sure that you give more than what they pay you, okay, and work your way up to that corporate ladder. So in my 20s, I worked my tail off. It was just heads down, do the work, okay? In my 30s, I moved into management. The job then was then not, because you knew your job now, right? And then your job is now to teach others to do the work and then to oversee them, to be the boss, okay? I hated that the most, by the way, to be a boss, right? Because I can outwork anybody when I can't expect the same from my team. Go ahead, yeah?
No.
You can relate?
I'm agreeing, amen on that.
You can agree, right?
Amen.
And being a boss without the proper training, you could be a horrible boss. Sometimes I was a horrible boss because I didn't have the right training, right? And that all comes with age and experience to become a supervisor or boss. I left the corporate world when I was 34 years old because I hated being a boss, even though they made me be the boss. I was the chief financial officer for a publicly traded company. My job was to go around and find insurance agencies and buy them and roll them in and do mergers and acquisitions. And then my job at the end was to fire 20% of the people that I brought in because of economies of scale, because of systems, because we, more efficiency, right? And I left that corporate world to get in the insurance business at 34 years old. So I'm in the business now for 17 years old, in the real estate business. So in the real estate business, I started all over again in a new industry. Went out and knocked on doors and cold called and did farming and all that. Worked my tail off one more time, right? And then once I figured out how to sell houses, my average probably in Boston about 36 houses a year after 2 short years in the business. Just basically just did everything I learned to do and closing every 10 days. Been doing that since, okay? And then I figured, oh my gosh, I'm trading time for money. I'm approaching, my late 30s. How long is this gonna go for? Keep trading time for money. If I stop selling houses, I stop making money. So I decided, okay, let me start a brokerage. So I started a brokerage. Then let me leverage and have other agents make money, help them make money so I can make a little bit, right? Did that for the next 9 years. Built a brokerage in Boston from basically me, made my wife leave her corporate job as a pharmaceutical sales rep to run the corporation because we couldn't trust anybody else to run the books for us and cut the checks and work all hours without asking for overtime. Right? So she ran the brokerage. We built it to 120 agents, 4 offices, and then late 24, made it through the recession, the last recession between 07 to 2014. Got to the end, 120 agents, 4 offices, and I'm thinking to myself, this is nuts. I'm back at it again, trading time for money. My agents have a better lifestyle than me. I have all the liabilities, all the headaches, all the heartaches, because the more I train, the better I train, the more they left me for greener pastures, and they went and competed with me. And who was I going to stop them? Right? So then I sold the brokerage to a national firm called Carrington Real Estate. Awesome folks. They took over my brokerage. They allowed me to go back to do what I love to do, which is to train. And oh, by the way, the reason why I sold it is because I couldn't figure out how to scale. At 40 agents, there was just 2 of us, 2 owners, me and my wife. At 60 agents, we had to bring another partner. Now there's 3 of us managing. At 100 agents, we had to bring in another partner because we couldn't figure it all out. Right? So the more we grew, the more overhead we had, and the more we just figured out every good owner or manager maybe can support about 30 or 40 agents. That's it. The system was just broken where you can't really scale. Okay? So we sold it and went back to selling houses. And I loved it. Sold a lot of houses after I sold my brokerage and started creating a life. Stopped trading time for money, because now I would take that money and invest in real estate, invest in Airbnbs, invest in the stock market, invest in other people, invest in the talent, right? And then about 4.5 years ago, I found this organization called Realty. And the reason why I share you this story is one of the things that my business partner, my sponsor in the organization, asked me was, she goes, Tom, when was the last time you went to a realtor's retirement party? Never. Who's been to a realtor's retirement party?
I've never heard of one.
Never heard of one. You know what a realtor's retirement party is? Funeral. That's the exit strategy. A realtor's exit strategy is death. So death do us part. And Tracy said, no, Tom, there is such a thing as a realtor's retirement party. I said, really? Tell me. So she showed me the program, and I got excited. I got excited because I figured out that there was a platform out there that allowed us to build leverage, to build systems without having to work our tail off. So ask yourself this question, folks in the audience right now. I'm looking around, and maybe one person's under 30, right? Anyone else under 30?
It's not me.
2 people under 30?
No.
Just 1 person under 30, right? Ask yourself this question. When you succeed, when you make it, whatever make it is, when you have made it, then what are you going to do?
Go to Disneyland.
Go to Disneyland.
Help others make it.
Help others make it. When you make it, what are you going to do? So I challenge you, starting tomorrow, starting tonight, figure out what that next thing is and start doing it as soon as you can. Because some agents will never make it. So why live the rest of your life not doing the things you really want to do when you make it? See, I knew when I saw this program, Tracy asked me, Tom, when you make it, what will you do? And it's exactly help other people. I thrive on helping other people succeed. Okay? Ask this other question of yourself. If you stopped working tomorrow, for those who think they've done it, they've made it, I've made it. I'm comfortable. I'm good. I don't need a change. Things are great right now. Here's my question for you. Tomorrow, wake up and do the math. If you stopped working tomorrow and you did not lower your standard of living, you don't move from this 3,000 foot home, 3,000 square foot home that you're in now and live underneath a bridge. You don't lower your standard of living. Ask yourself this question, do the math. I'll help you. How many more days can you live at the same quality of life that you live now?
Pin number. Financial independence.
Figure that out. And then ask yourself, are you really good? Because what happens if on the way home tomorrow, the plane goes down and I don't see my wife or my kids that I just kissed or just left for home? Did I really make it? Am I really comfortable? Am I really good right now? Deep thoughts, huh? So then the question is, well, what are you gonna do again starting tomorrow?
Do all the things that you would do if you had already made it. Just live your life. Enjoy. Go golfing like me. You know. Do all the things you've always wanted to do as a child. That's what I
Do
started
it tomorrow.
doing. Yeah, like now.
Right.
Yeah, do it now. Yeah.
So thank you. Yeah, and I highly encourage you to do that, right? So, but in the meantime, some of us still have to work.
Yeah, me too. I'm no exception.
But figure it out, right? So the question. So then the answer is find leverage. Find leverage. Okay. So how do you guys find leverage? What's leverage in your organization? Tony, your leverage is helping 160 agents succeed, and hopefully, they're gonna make money, and they're gonna pay the agency the split, and the agency's gonna pay you. And the more they sell, the more you get leverage, right? So he manages 160 people, right? That's how he gets leverage, right? How do you guys find leverage? Audra, how do you find leverage?
How do I find leverage? Other people's money, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you find leverage?
Systems of duplication.
Systems and duplication. Yeah. Yep.
And assist.
Very important. And assistance. Yeah.
What I've been doing is, because I like doing humanitarian things.
Right.
So I've been volunteering at Habitat for Humanity and other like networking things where I'm helping people who I've always wanted to do but felt like before, when I have the money, then I can do it. But you know what? You don't have to wait till you have the money, because you can still have fun and meet people. And the best way, like Anthony was saying, and Tom, it's while you're enjoying yourself, while you're helping people, they see that you're doing it genuinely. You're not there with your bag saying, pick me, pick me. You're just doing it, and then they have a conversation with you. So now you have this relation, and they see you as a person that cares. You're not there just trying to get leads. You're there doing what you enjoy, which is helping people, and they see that, they feel that. So
Thank you.
that's to me like,
That's right. People around. Now I do that. So I boil it down to sort of one word here, and that's empowering people, empowering agents, right? Empowering people, empowering your team, empowering your kids, empowering your organization. So once you figure out how to empower the people in your lives, your life gets a little bit easier. So part of empowerment is being a leader. Who's the leader in this room? We all are. Thank you very much. Right? In one way or another, we're all leaders. If we're in a household, and we're a leader. If we play in a sports team, when that ball comes to us and we have the ball, we have to do something good, we're leading. We're doing one thing or another. So true leadership happens when? True leader doesn't happen when the organization is running smoothly, when AREAA Northern LA is running smoothly, when AREAA San Diego is running smoothly, and you get all the credits and you take all the accolades. That's not true leadership. True leadership comes when
the shit hits the fan.
the shit
and you're
hits the
like,
fan.
I got this. Everybody follow me.
That's right. So when stuff hits the fan, right, true leaders step up. And they say, how can I help this situation? There are fake leaders out there who, when shit hits the fan, they look to blame, well, who effed up? You guys know leaders like that? Okay. So true leadership for me, and that's part of, when you make it, what next? For me, if I die tomorrow, I know my kids are empowered. I know my wife is empowered. I know the people around me are empowered. Because what happens is, you have trained them to think for themselves. Like when you train your organizations to think for themselves, you really start growing an organization. That's how I can run an organization with 1,000 or more agents across the country, and my phone doesn't go off like crazy. And there's no emergencies in my business, ever. There's never ever an emergency because I've trained them. When was the last time you had a heart-to-heart conversation with your team members if you're looking to build something big? When was it? Yeah. Daily. That's awesome, right? Because what I found in leadership is a lot of times when people run into challenges, what they end up doing is they don't talk it out with the person they have a challenge with. Instead, they go around and talk about them instead of speak with them about the conversation, right? My wife and I, it's hard sometimes, but I think we have an extremely healthy relationship because of this. We've been married for quite a while, since 1994 actually, so do that math. It's a long time, right? So every year, the day before our anniversary, which is New Year's Eve, we got married New Year's Day, right? Every year, for all these years, we would actually sit down and do a performance review with one another. When's the last time you guys did a performance review with your kids or your significant other? Yeah, tonight. It's hard. It's a nightmare, it can be. But when you do that, and you both go in there figuring that, understanding with each other that, hey, this is supposed to be constructive. This is so that a relationship is stronger. It doesn't get weaker. This is so that if I have a complaint about you, honey, I'm not gonna go to the bar and tell my 5 best friends about how bad you are. And you're gonna do the same for me. It hurts sometimes. Why do I share that? Because that's how you run massive organizations. That's how you run amazing families.
I love that.
Right? Because you shouldn't be telling your girlfriends how bad your guy is. You should be telling your guy first and ask him to fix it. Yeah?
Yeah.
Then you. So reinforce positive stuff. Instead of a lot of leaders, if you want to try to run if you want to run a large organization or run a nice, strong family unit, try catching people doing something good all the time, and then reinforce that activity. Most people, I like to say Asian parents, but I see it happening all across the world, right? They wait until someone does something bad and then boom, they whack them. And they're doing great, they're doing great things all the time, but we never praise. Check that out sometimes. Catch people around you doing great things and praise them and praise them and praise them, because then when they do something bad, it's okay. Hey, let's sit down. Hey, Chloe, let's sit down and we talk with you. They're not afraid that every time let's sit down and you're gonna whack them. I catch them and say, hey, let's sit down, and I praise her, and she goes, oh, that's awesome. Does that make sense? Try that in your organization. If you have a team member who's not carrying their weight, if you're coaching somebody and they're not doing the right thing, catch them doing the right thing first, and then when you sit them down, it makes a lot more sense, right? Stretch your team members' capabilities. I have this saying that's to build leaders is give them enough rope to hang themselves. Give them enough rope to be dangerous, but not enough rope to hang themselves. Okay, so as an example, tonight, right, Rodrigo, this is your event. Thank you very much again. Round of applause for Rodrigo. All right? And at the beginning, for those who were here earlier, Rodrigo welcomed everybody, but he didn't really express why we were all here. So I had to step up and help him. I'm still gonna make him the rock star that he is, because he is a rock star, right? So I thanked him so many times already coming to this event. I thanked him again today. We're gonna thank him again tonight for doing the right thing, right? But so the leader basically steps in when they need to step in to help build, to help straighten the ship, right? And then demonstrate that you trust them. Demonstrate that you trust them, right? How much do you trust your team member? How much do you trust your significant other? What's that? 100%, and you should, right? Because you've had those conversations, you've set those expectations, right? And the more you trust people, the more they're gonna grow as well, and you're gonna grow. So, it's 8 o'clock. I'll end with asking you a few questions. What stops you from being your best? Yourself. Lazy. Me. I hear that all the time. So what's getting in your way to being your best? Insecurity?
Tell me more about that.
Well,
Tell me more.
Well,
We're in a safe zone here.
I think it's insecurity because we can do so much more. But having the right leadership or mentor, it's really important for that person to grow the
Yes.
right way. We always think that we cannot do that much more, but like you said, right? You asked Rodrigo to put this event, and he was like, "Oh, how am I gonna do that?" Right? So we always do that. So insecurity, but being insecure is good because then there's chance for you to grow even more.
That's right.
So.
I love it, thank you.
What stops you from being your best?
Well, when I measure where I'm at and I place goals and I say, okay, because you don't see yourself on the inside. You only see what you're accomplishing on the outside. So when you write your goals and you say, this is where I'm at, this is where I want to be, then you can get there. But when we don't do that, and I will say I don't do this all the time, then I'm like, where do I go? I don't know what my best is. I don't know who I am. But when I see it on paper, and I'm like, wow, I got here, and last year I was there, and this is where I want to be, then I am excelling, I am pushing myself to be the best me at that moment.
Recreating yourself.
But
I
I
love
don't
that.
do it all the time, but when I do that,
Recreate yourself.
You know what I heard there? I heard something really profound. She says, I don't know what my best is. That's very profound, right? Do you guys know what your best is? Has anyone pushed you to the limits? Maybe you should need a mentor, right? I still get coached, by the way. I run a massive organization, but I still pay for a coach, $500 a week. His name is Russ, for 15-minute conversation. 15 minutes for $500, and I still get coached. He kicks my ass, and he pushes me to my limits. He tells me, Tom, you can make more than 20 calls an hour. I challenge you to make 22 calls an hour. And he goes, here's what I'm gonna do. This happened last week. He goes, I know you can make 22 calls an hour. Really? The maximum I've done is 20. He goes, you can do it. Now record yourself. So for an hour, I recorded myself making calls, dialing, calling, coaching, talking to agents, recruiting them all over the world, and then he messaged me. He goes, "You're gonna send me your file so I can listen to it." And then, lo and behold, wouldn't you know it, he found that I wasted 30 seconds at least 30 seconds in between calls. Because I stopped and took notes. He goes, no. From here on out, you don't stop. After you finish the conversation, pick up the phone and call again. Pick up the phone and call again. You have a virtual assistant that you pay $5 an hour in the Philippines for. You send her the video, the file for an hour, and she'll type all the notes in for you. You just gained back 20 calls times 30 seconds. That's extra time to make those 2 extra phone calls. That one coaching tip was well worth $500. Just fine tuning your work, right? So, ask yourself, ask your spouse, ask your coach, ask your mentor, right? What is my limit? What do you think my limit is? Rick Manolo and I run a coaching call every Monday. If you want to jump on it, get in touch with us. We run a free coaching call every Monday, 9 a.m. Pacific time, right? Get on the call with us. We have homework for you. You have to show up with your homework and we'll get it done for you. We don't charge a dime for it, just to coach you to become better, okay? I'll leave you with this. Everybody was born in a certain day, a certain hour, a certain minute, a certain second. Everyone dies in a certain day, a certain hour, a certain minute, a certain second. We're all different in that way. Okay? The one thing that we have in common is the dash. The dash in between the day that we were born and the day that we die. My question for you is, when you pass, because we all will, what will your dash say? So write your eulogy soon, and you decide. What will your eulogy sound like? Will it be, oh, Carmen was so filthy, stinking rich. Tony was such a stud making sales and selling so much houses. He's got $10 million in his bank account. Will it be that? Or would it be that Audra made a difference in my life? That she made a difference in 20 other people's lives? That she left a legacy? That Rodrigo, took time out of his busy schedule to bring us all together so we can collaborate and share ideas and connect with one another. Because when he's gone, we'll remember one day that we met in this room because of Rodrigo. What is your dash? Write it down. Millionaire. I would challenge to say people won't care when you die whether you're a millionaire or not. I would say they're going to say, how good was your heart? Thank you, guys. Thank you, Rodrigo, for your leadership.
Thank you so much, Tom. Wow, that's a great thing. This guy actually is amazing. He's very powerful.